This is Rebel Hard Rose here, coming to you live. And we're getting prepared for a new women for Kamala Wednesdays. I'm excited and yet scared. It's like everything all into one. Because a lot is riding on this election. More than people realize. People can joke around and everything, but if we don't take things seriously, it will come to pass that history repeats itself. And it has done so. I'm tired of all the hatred, the violence, everything that Trump has brought back into light with his rhetoric, with a lot of them spreading lies and deception about people, and people listening to it without getting the full story or the truth. It's spreading more hate. Violence begets more violence, and so on and so forth. And the more we spread violence, the more it'll be there. I'm trying to learn how to be a different person as well by not being no by being more direct about my needs and wants, and to be more direct about other people's, and to be caring and listening to them, of course. It'll be 8:30 tonight, so all I have to do is wait. I got the link in my email, and I've been playing some games to get my mind off of my adventures in Disney Dreamland. Love the game, and my adventures in Pixelmon. I become a big fan of this server, Poke Legends, I think, or Poke Kings. That's might be Poke King, Poke Legends, Poke Kings. There's something there because at one point I had three. I caught like three different legendaries, and some without having a master ball on the same play. I got two Zemizentas. I got one Zacian. Love that one, and I got I love Suicune, Suicune, sweet. It takes me away from it for a while, an escape. Do any of y'all have an escape when things are so negative? It's hard to find the positive. Like, you gotta be the positive, so you gotta find a way to laugh to get your mind off of it. And I've been watching Jerome ASF, the YouTube, and his gang of hooligans. I love them. Dropsy, especially Dropsy. Love her. Fun. They are so fun when everything is to worry about, and they love the shenanigans they do. Just grind you up. We need more of that instead of hateful rhetoric. and hateful this and that and the backstabbing, the it's a lot that needs to be stopped, and I want I want my part to end with me. I love the moth wings in Disney Dreamland, but this new challenge is kind of difficult for me. But the two challenges in a row from the past one, I got 1,200 moonstones, which is good. It's the highest amount I've ever gotten, and I put in more effort with it than I have the others. I think I did good with my campfire one right here. Probably would have gotten more if I gotten more people involved or I did the full body. But I think I did pretty good. And I think this one will be pretty good too. Tiana and everything, I love that purple dress no matter what anyone says about it. I love it. This current challenge, the dance party, I tried to. I got a submission, but I'm kind of working on things for a bit. I might change it up. But the fireflies and the outfit really went along with it. But I love the luminescent flowers and the night sky and the dance floor. It's like moth to flame. That was my theme that I came up with. So I was kind of a moth dancing around flowers. Dancing, have a party in flowers. Since I'm the spotlight, fireflies, stars, the sky. Uh, I don't know how I'll do. I love the challenges though. It's really challenging me in my creative streak. And that's what I love about games like this. When everything else each week is different. I'm glad there's a chance to earn some moonstones by being creative. I love the fireflies. I got so many of them. And I prefer like doing the room changes as opposed to outside because I don't know, maybe the next outdoor one. Not this one, but the next one I might do outdoors and try to. I mean, the campfire one I did outdoors, but I kind of figured I should have done it showing my full body and everyone that was out that camp because it wasn't just Jack or Eve, it was others because that campfire brought it was one of the things in the package that I had a tent up as well and everything. But I'm glad I got 1,200 for 2 weeks in a row, and that's the most I've ever gotten. So I'm improving, and I hope I can improve. And sometimes I think less is more when it comes to decorating. Don't have to bombard it with everything. But I love the idea with flowers and a moth dancing and dancing it, especially with the lights. Yes, I love that idea of it. And until I can get other characters and finish. I finished the storytelling of them. Now I just need to get some of the characters up to level, the maximum level. And let's say left open the door to Monsters Inc. and Mulan. Those are the only two doors I have not had yet. Went through yet. So I'm torn between Monsters and Mulan. I love Mulan, so I might get her before Monsters. Because who wouldn't like her, Mushu? I wish they gave us Pegasus though, from Hercules though. Now that's a good companion right there. What if we could ride him, fly, let him fly us? Everything. Do, 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 do. I love hearing Prince Eric play his flute. It's so pretty. I chose to do wanted to be a piccolo player because at that time, Dragon Ball Z, I had a crush on Piccolo. I was a weird kid. And I still believe as long as there's giving in the world, there'll always be a Santa Claus. I take Santa Claus to be what we should be giving. It's the spirit of it all that I believe exists. I think very differently. And I like that. Because somebody has to, instead of being negative all the time, try to find something, a glimpse, a spark of hope. That's powerful. We gotta find it now. All the threats, the death, and the hate. Killing is not a solution to everything. I don't condone anyone threaten or try to assassinate anybody. That's not what a democracy is made out for. People are scared and we have a presidential candidate that's inciting fear, fear mongering, and encouraging all the hatred. And he wonders why that someone would attempt at his life twice. Yeah. You have a. Don't people remember that he got impeached for a reason? January 6th, we're going to keep bringing it back because he incited that hatred. And that hatred has been increasing ever since he opens his mouth. And we're trying to. What's it? What's the word? What's the word that cops never ever understand? The word is de escalate. the situation. That's what cops need to be trained in, de-escalating it. Not making it worse. Inciting flames. Making the flames bigger and bigger and bigger to where guns have to be used. We shouldn't be relying on any kind of weapon. We should be educated enough or evolved enough to not rely on medieval ideals like fighting and brute force. We are better than this. And why are a lot of the right wing hating on women for actually taking our power back when they were born from a woman? If it wasn't for a woman, they wouldn't be here. And women have been putting up with a lot. I'm not hating on men. I'm just hating on the ones that keep on thinking that women are insignificant and weak, but we're not. We're strong. Because we have to be silent and take a lot of shit. Women are expected to do a lot more than men and not complain about it. And when a woman complains about it and wants fair treatment, then she's a problem. She's the one that is difficult. Yeah. And I know some women are. There's always a few bad eggs in the bunch. But you can't blame the entire sex for what? For a few? That's how men don't like to be judged by a lot of the ones that do bad for to make them look bad. They're the same. So why don't we just communicate? I seen a good video where a man tells the woman specifically how she makes him feel and how they make him go to someone of a different race. And then they get mad when he does. And he explains why. And I like the communication part because he did not insult them. And he tries to explain his point of view without demeaning them. And I like the conversation there because that's what it takes. Listening, communicating, and comprehending. The 3 C's. And it's hard enough without putting a lot more pressure on the other person. And it's almost time. Maybe I should go ahead and pull it up. Just see me. Okay. What's that? Okay, let's see. Okay. I'll leave her like this until it starts. We got 9 minutes. I'm excited to hear more from it. I've seen a lot of people degrade the size that shouldn't be degrading. It's not okay to call someone names at all. We can't win over people if we're going to degrade and demean them. That never solves it. That escalates the situation, not de-escalate. Sometimes we just have to wait and let them see for themselves what kind of person they're rooting for. And eventually they'll see the truth. And some see it when it is too late. But there are those who will see it. And those who've seen it all along. We were warned. I never voted for him. I never had a vote for him. Because I knew during my business class at Pfeiffer that he was a bad businessman. And how he bankrupted a lot of people. And that's all I needed to know. And I seen a video where he said he'd run Republican because they're the stupidest people. He insulted the Republican Party. And yet, there you have it. They're fighting for him. They're, the gaslighting people. Even though previously this current attacker voted for Biden, he previously was a Trump supporter. He voted for Trump in 2016. Let that sink in. Still, it'll link back to him. The violence. And then you hear this other guy who's running. I forgot his name because he's insignificant. You can see the hate. You can feel the hate in his heart. And he says some people deserve killing. No, they don't. We're not the jury, the persecution, and the executioner. We're here to be helpful to other people, to serve and to help other people, not to be a judge, jury, and an executioner. And these are the people who want to lead us, but yet they want us to fight each other. And y'all want to vote for the hate, the one spreading hate, versus the one that's trying to help the people. If it wasn't for the bigotry of the Republican Party, who's vetoing a lot of the bills, if y'all paid attention, the Democratic Party has been trying to pass bills to help us. The Republican Party has been vetoing those bills and not passing them. So that the Democrats will get blamed for the mess. If y'all don't pay attention to that, that's everything you need to know about the Republican Party. The self interest. None of the American people but their own selves. And they're not a diverse group either. If you have one or two minorities in a whole group, it isn't diverse. Diverse has an equal number of minorities compared to the whole. Right? Diverse means you don't see all of one color. I take the human race, we're one race, right? With many different cultures. I make it look like a painting. I picture it as a painting. It's more beautiful with many different diverse cultures that make up art. It's beautiful. Monochrome is so boring. Mono, one color, is so boring. I love color. It makes it fun. We need to see color. I don't like the saying I don't see color because that is the most ignorant statement that you can ever make. Unless you are colorblind. Like one of the YouTubers I mentioned now is a good and funny person. Happens to be colorblind. Now, that's an exemption. But those saying it, knowing good and well they could see color, is pretty ignorant. We need to see each other and hear each other. I'm learning to be more people person y, which I'm not good around people. And I'm trying to give others another chance and try to see if growth could be there. Because hate has already taken too many of us. And it's exhausting, you know? All the violence. I'd rather stand up against violence and be for diversity than ever vote for someone who wants to be a dictator and loves dictators. Diversity is America. America is diversity. How we got started was dark. To indigenous, to African Americans, to a lot of different cultures. But no one culture should be telling others or trying to control different persons or their bodies. Nobody should be telling others how they should live in their personal lives. Nobody. No government. None. That is a very, very, very important thing because people need a private life. And there's only a few reasons for government to come involved. If a child is endangered, But how many times have they protected children once they were born and call themselves pro-lifers? My mom has fostered over, well, let's say 116 plus children. The foster system sucks. They send them right back to where they were abused. They don't care about them once they get in the foster system. They don't. They age out wishing they had parents. I got lucky. I got adopted to someone who was a foster mother to my biological mother. I got lucky. It ain't a perfect home, but it's a home. I love my mom and I love my dad who passed 2 years ago in 2022 this month.
Recording in progress.
Here we go. I'm trying to get it. You hear some of the music? I love the music. Okay,
Hello, everyone. The music ended, so I think that is a signal to begin, but I'm sure people will be trickling in throughout the call. So welcome to Wednesday's Women for Harris Zoom call. Thank you all for joining and making time out of your busy schedules, I'm sure, to show up during this very critical time in election season. I'm Annie Wu Henry, Annie Wu 22 on line, but I am in social media for the Democratic Senate campaign in 22. I've worked for organizations and candidates and representatives the digital and creative kind of space. I'm also a Pennsylvanian, very proud of the Commonwealth and there and do a lot around making sure young people are making sure their voices are heard this election. If you're new here at Women Wednesdays for Harris, it is a weekly organizing call to train messengers and volunteers on the most effective ways to take action to help Kamala Harris win big this November. So I'm happy you're here this week. You can join additional weeks. We have 48 days left, which is pretty crazy. Every week is focused on a central theme, and we'll get a clear call to action for you all so there are tangible steps you can take to reach voters and build momentum towards
I'm online.
While we
I'm
are
streaming.
a space for women, we often welcome male speakers and other folks as allies in this critical work. It's going to take all of us this election cycle. So a quick reminder to hit the closed captioning button. If you don't see closed captions, we want to make sure this call is accessible to as many people as possible. And tonight's theme is all about how you can leverage social media platforms to help persuade voters. We know that we need to meet voters where they're at. That's not a new term for 2024, and it's no secret where most of them are. That's social media. You all, I'm sure, have a phone. You have your laptops. You have so many things that you're constantly seeing what is happening online. We know we need to meet voters in these spaces because over 70% of U.S. adults use social media platforms, and over 50% of them use them daily. And so it's not just about young people being online and living online, it's everyone. Last year, the 19th put out an article titled "Is 2024 the Year of the Instagram Moms?" Which was positing that reaching women on social media was key to winning elections. Social media is a powerful tool to reach and message to large sections of our electorate. And Reuters even did a study that 55% of TikTok users and 52% of Instagram users get their news from social media personalities. Tonight, we will hear from speakers who use social media on their own platforms or in a variety of different ways to make an impact in social change. So for me, that looks like helping candidates and organizations be impactful. I can give you a little bit of background about how I got into this work. I've always been fairly online, fairly political kid, but in college I was studying communications and journalism, and I was also studying political science. And I was a student during the 2016 election, and as a media studies and political science student, it was a very interesting time because we were seeing a lot of that unfold. And I was just really fascinated at how this space was evolving from how users were using them, how people who were creating and sharing were on them, and then also how things like campaigns and news outlets were evolving to make sure that they were meeting the influx of people that were relying and utilizing these spaces. And I always talk about social media, and I said it earlier, is that it's a tool, but I always say it's very powerful, and power can be used for both good and for bad, and we see that. We see that everyone, has a platform and can reach millions of people, and sometimes that is with potentially harmful information. There's the spread of misinformation and disinformation, so there's a need for all of us as consumers to make sure we are being as cognizant of that as possible, but also for the responsibility of some of these platforms. And so as I worked in the private sector, I worked in organizing spaces, I as like a young person was figuring out how to use my own voice largely online. And so I was kind of evolving in this political system, and I never saw myself really working in politics in the traditional West Wing way. But I didn't know how that really fit in. And I always talk about when I was a student, the jobs that I do now, what I work with in politics, didn't exist back then. And the jobs that we're seeing with the digital space, the Kamala campaign has over 100 digital staff just on, managing social media platforms and making sure we're reaching all of these folks. And that's because of the power they hold. And so you all can have people that you can reach, and it doesn't matter if you have 10 followers or 10 million followers, it makes an impact. And you know that as consumers. And so hopefully you will learn a little bit tonight on best practices or different ways in which other people online have felt compelled to use their social platforms. But I just want to make that that it's an accessible and easy space, and not to feel as intimidated, because I think a lot of people get very scared to press post. But I actually just had a friend who is a political content creator. He's a veteran and talks a lot about how important, the veteran community being vocal around things like this election is. And he just shared today, actually, that a year ago he had like 40 to 50 followers, and he made his first video talking about, the harms of Donald Trump, and it got like 300,000 views. And now he's doing that constantly to this large audience that relies on him for information, but also community. And so I do that in my personal capacity. I also do it in my professional capacity. And I want to make sure that people, feel like you don't have to have some large platform to make an impact in these spaces. One of the first folks that we are going to be talking to tonight does have a very large platform, and I think it's so wonderful that she has taken the time to use her platform to speak out about this election, but also go a step further and join us here tonight on this call, and that is Jordyn Woods. So I think they are going to highlight her. She will be joining me in this call, and we can talk a little bit about, how she's used her platform in social media. And so it's not just about people who have backgrounds in politics and that are making an impact for Democrats this election season. Influencers, whether it's foodies or lifestyle, and folks like Jordan that have their platforms can use their voice to show support and their opposition to the people on the other side. So model and actress and singer Jordan Woods has amassed a huge social media following and is joining us tonight to provide insights and key lessons we can use to improve our online messaging. Welcome, Jordan, and thank you so much for being here. And are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for all your effort and work that you do for everyone in the community. It's amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. So we'll start out with a few questions, but this is pretty casual. And feel free to hop in on anything you'd like to be talking about. But we'll start out just with why is it important for you to use your platform on social media to talk about social media or to talk about social issues and politics?
Yeah, well, having a platform and visibility, it is important to leverage it for positive impact. And honestly, I feel like with great privilege and influence comes great responsibility. And so I'm grateful to be able to use my voice and amplify the values that I believe in. Um, but you have to stand for something. So it's such a blessing to be able to do that, but just amplifying positivity.
Yeah, for sure. It's a privilege to be able to have a platform because there are so many folks who don't. One thing I do think that's so wonderful about social media is it has created a democratized way of people having platforms. There are so many folks that just pull out their phone and then can become, large influencers just by being themselves, which in the past I don't think has been accessible to so many different folks without different privileges.
Well, I think that's ultimately the shift in our world right now in the industry and technology is that anybody can do it with the right accessibility, whether it's a phone or iPad or just a camera. And it is the easiest time ever to get your message out there.
Yeah. So, what are some tips that our audience might find helpful to be their most impactful selves on social media and the biggest ways you've seen growth in content or what resonates most with your audience?
Yeah, well, I always say my authenticity is my greatest gift. You are you, and no one is you, and that's what makes you special. And I think it is important to always remain authentic and true to yourself, and don't be afraid to take a stance for what you believe in. And you really cannot go wrong when you show up for yourself, good or bad. And we're all human, so we're going to make mistakes. It is what it is. But as long as you stay true to your authentic self, you really will always have something that you can stand on.
Yeah, and I talk about that a lot with whether an organization or a candidate we're working on. What they're doing is that like don't try to do something just because like you feel like that's like what you should do or that's what everyone else is doing because you also want to be able to be sustainable in this space and not feel like oh like it's an obligation. And if you're doing things that are true to you, like it'll be a lot easier to be doing those things naturally.
Yeah, it will flow. It'll come natural. You won't have to overthink the content. It'll just become a part of who you are.
So sometimes there are downsides of talking about politics online. Standing for something means that there are probably people that have a different view, which I think if you it's better to take a view on something and have the people who disagree with you than not stand for anything at all, like you said. So I'm sure you've gotten some backlash on speaking out for what you care about, and there's always going to be people who disagree with you. How do you manage that? How do you communicate with people that might disagree with you? How do you make space for yourself and you're, keeping it like a safe space for you and for your community? But also like knowing that you have the ability to maybe persuade some of these folks as well.
Yeah, well, I think the number one thing is do not try to persuade anyone into any policy or value because I believe there's so much misinformation on social media. So, number one, do the work, do your own research, and then allow others to really lean into their core values and allow the space and agency for them to really be themselves. And then obviously make sure you go out there and vote. I think that's the number one most important thing is if we're building the life we want to live in 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, your vote counts. So go out there and vote.
Yeah, and I think something when I see like all of the people being very loud on the internet, or it reminds me that there are folks that are out there. And so that also shows why your vote is so important because they're going to be showing up and your vote could cancel theirs out. The worst person you know is voting. So you better show up too.
Yes, definitely.
And then finally, like, what would you tell, people at large, but especially other young folks who are such an important and large voting bloc this election cycle, what the stakes are for this election and why it's important for them to be involved and care about this and show up?
Well, something that's very personal to me is that I am very passionate about protecting women's rights and at many levels, from the Supreme Court to state and local officials, I feel like there's a lot of people working to strip those rights away from us. And as we're all focusing on the presidential election and talking about it, I believe that it is equally important to know your senators, your congresspeople, your local and state officials, because so much is at stake and we can't really lose sight of our state and local decision makers. So we can't go back now. And with that being said, like I said before, you have to go vote and just really take the time to get information from everywhere as presidential and local.
Yeah, and I think bringing up the point of down ballot, we talk about one vote doesn't matter, especially down ballot. When you get to some of these smaller elections, one vote can mean everything. And so many of these things that we are seeing impact us at a national level. We talk about things like book bans, when we talk about some of the really harmful and restrictive reproductive rights laws and bans that are happening, they started at a local level. The things that happen at the Supreme Court started in local communities, in state Supreme Courts, and they made it their way up, and now they're impacting us at large. So up and down the ballot, it's so important, and I just appreciate all the time you've taken to join us here tonight, but also to advocate on your own platform. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you, and thank you for everyone a part of this and that showed up, the participants. And let's go, guys. Let's go vote.
Yeah, 48 days.
Thank
Okay, of course. The next person that we have joining us is Sarah Dole, who is co-founder and chief campaigns officer at Indivisible, who is hosting this lovely call that we are all a part of and the weekly series.
Hey, y'all. Thanks, Annie. I'm a huge fan of your work. So like Annie said, I am Sarah Dole. I am one of the co-founders and chief campaigns officer here at Indivisible. That's a mouthful. Really simply, it means that I wake up every day thinking about how we are going to move people into taking strategic action to win. So advocacy fights, elections, you name it, I want to win it. That just is who I am. I will say that my kid right now has never been more proud of me than tonight because I am the opening act for Luke Skywalker. I don't think he has any idea of what I do, but tonight is a good night. So I am really excited to be here to talk to you about how we can use the power of social media to elect Vice President Harris and Coach Walz. So as someone who has worked on countless digital campaigns and mobilized millions of voters through online action over the last decade or so, I know just how impactful we can be when we harness our networks online and when we do it together. Look, I want to be clear. I am not the girl that is going to teach you how to go viral. That's not why we are here tonight. It is great if you do. I will cross my fingers for you. But tonight we are talking about harnessing the power of your personal story and your existing social media network to pull in more people who are excited about Vice President Harris and Coach Walz into formation, to take action, to talk to voters, to turn more people out to the polls, and to elect our first woman president. I think there are probably a few of you who are sitting there thinking, okay, how am I going to do that? So I'm gonna share a number with you. I'm also not a numbers girl, so I'm looking at notes for this part. So consider this. In 2020, Joe Biden beat Donald Trump in Arizona by 10,457 votes. In case you were wondering, that is just 15% of the number of people who showed up for the Eras tour in Pittsburgh. The average person who comes to an Indivisible phone bank to talk to voters in swing states like Arizona or Georgia or Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, they make about 600 dials. So if 500 of you, and there are more of you than that on this call tonight, if you were to convince two friends, just two of your friends, to join an upcoming phone bank with us to talk to voters, we could make another 600,000 dials. That is a big number. That is how we are going to win this election. So tonight, I'm going to try to give you all of some of the tools and some of my best strategies that are going to help you rally your communities and inspire real, honest-to-God, game-changing action. Of course, for folks who are from Indivisible on this call, you know that we are the guide people. And so I stayed up really late last night writing a guide for you. We're going to drop it in the chat. And then I'm gonna go through some of the highlights, the TLDR summary here, because I also want to hear Luke Skywalker talk. So first, what we're going to start with in the guide is telling your story. So personal stories, and if you join these calls before, you know this, but they are one of the most powerful ways to connect with your audience. So when you explain why you personally, why Kamala and Tim are your candidates, you are inviting others to share in that same passion. So a person in your social media circle, so like that other mom that your kid plays soccer with, or that girl that you went to high school with, she may not be moved to action by a politician or by the campaign, by an organization like the one that I work for, but they might be moved to action by you. Your story is the most powerful asset that the campaign has, and only you have the power to utilize it on their behalf. So share your story. We can't forget about visuals. So social media, whether you like it or not, it is a visual world, and it is essential that we catch people's attention with photos, with videos, with graphics. There is a reason that you and I both, we scroll TikTok and Facebook Reels endlessly and send them to our friends. So I have included in this toolkit a 60-second video script in the toolkit to help you get started to record your own short video. It is nothing fancy, but you will be amazed by how much engagement you can get from personal video content. Let's talk about platforms. So we are all on different platforms. Some of us are on a lot of them, others are on one. Whether you are active on Instagram or Facebook or X, formerly known as Twitter, or even newer platforms like Threads or Blue Sky, we have got tips to make sure that you are maximizing your reach on each of them. They each have their own strengths. They each have their own weaknesses, but it really is all about using them strategically. The toolkit, it also walks through these platforms to emphasize really the need on not just building posts. So social media is not a one-way conversation. To do it really well, to bring more people in, to get them to take action, you need to be thinking about how you're building conversations. You want to engage with your audience. You want to respond to comments. You want to spark dialogue, because that's really where the magic happens. We know that every like and comment and share that you get, it amplifies our message. It gets it out there to more people. And this is the most important piece, y'all. I need you to remember, if you remember one thing from the call, it is this. If you are using social media to inspire more people to take action, you need to tell them how to take action. It is one thing to get people interested, but we need to turn that interest into tangible steps, like signing up for phone banks, canvassing using Indivisible's neighbor to neighbor tool. That would make me very happy. Or even just sharing voter registration links. So in the toolkit, we have included sample messages, calls to action that you can literally copy and paste and share. We've got a whole section on reaching out to friends in battleground states with Facebook search links. Not a lot of people know this. There is a link you can click. It'll tell you all your friends who live in Pennsylvania or Ohio, or Wisconsin or Georgia, so that you can find those key connections and have conversations with those folks about taking action. So we have tried to make it as easy as possible for you to not only spread the word, but to make sure that your followers know exactly how to get involved. This personal outreach, this is what wins elections. So I can't wait for you all to read it and use it. I want to see what you come up with. I will uplift you on social media. Tag Indivisible. Our team will make sure to uplift you. And I've been talking at you for a little while. So we're going to break up the speeches here. And we are going to hear from you. We want to put up a poll. Are we going to put up the poll here? There you go. Okay. So we want to hear from you about what actions you have taken over the course of the last several months, several weeks. I want you to click everything that you have done, whether you have knocked on a door, if you live in a battleground state, if you have written a postcard because you live in, I don't know, West Point, Virginia. Tell us what you have done. Okay. And while you're answering, also feel free to drop in the chat. So Nora just put a prompt. Chat goes fast. It's like Gilmore Girls when we turn it on, man. Feel free to drop in the chat how the experience has been so far. Maybe you have had an amazing conversation with a voter at a door, writing postcards, you had a great party, phone banks. Oh, yeah, see, this goes very fast. I can't even say fun things that I'm seeing. Lots of letters. I see lots of postcards. Text banking. I've seen a ton of that. Lots of doors. This is incredible, y'all. So I'm waiting for, I can't see the response rate yet. Oh, no, I can't. Okay, so we've had about 14% of people knocking on doors. We need more people knocking on doors, y'all. 20% have joined the phone bank. Thank you. Lots of you have registered voters. Tons of you have talked to your friends and family about their voter registration. All right. 50% have written letters or postcards. We know you all love postcards. So many postcard parties. I think so. Here is my challenge to open the social toolkit that we built for you to post your personal graphics. So the next week we've got, let's see how these numbers
Hey there. Mark, that was awesome. Wow. Mark Hamill. Woo. It's. I'll make up for not doing any more of these calls since the Masked Singer's starting up next week. So I got the link to I can start writing letters to voters to get them to vote. It's hard to get those who stop caring. It's like no matter what, which side, they feel like it's hopeless because those who are going to win it anyway. That's the attitude and mentality around these parts. And well, it's understandable. There's so much spread about it, and we need to spread the truth. Speak up, up and loud, and be yourself. Accept people for who they are. That's when you're the most happiest, is when you can be around those who accept you. And we all want that understanding, that mercy. Where mercy is shown, mercy is given. If we want mercy, we have to show mercy to others, right? Okay. I'll leave that with you tonight. And see you next week for the Masked Singer. So, good night, everybody. Ciao for now.